Rooted in resilience, inspired by nature, powered by movement. The podcasts where healing meets empowerment. Let's rise and thrive together. And now, here are your hosts, Scott and Melissa.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Vital Edge Wellness Coaching's Rise and Thrive podcast. I'm here with Melissa. We're here for part 3 of navigating challenging change. And I'm going to pass it over to Melissa, and she's going to do our mindful moment. And then we'll get into the topic and wrap it up today.
Yeah. So wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, listening to us, watching us, hanging out with us, settle back as comfortably as you can. Or if you're on a treadmill, because I know some of you mentioned you're doing that while listening to us, just let that steady cadence of your steps be present.
I'm on the treadmill of life.
Yes. I have a little reading for us, but before that, just take a big sigh, please, in through the nose, out through the mouth or nose. Feel whatever you're holding on those shoulders just melt and roll off the back. Think of it as having a little water-like quality. Let's do that again. Nice inhale. Feel that exhale wash, release, feel it melt and roll off the shoulders, down the back, into the earth, into your seat. So relaxing your jaw and softening your tongue. Eyes can be closed or open, especially if you're on a treadmill. So I just want to read a quote. So please just kind of breathe with me, listen. A sweet book I picked up and I just got it started, but I love the play with words. It is called Reality is Optional. Mood Work, Magic, and Mastery from the Vortex Edge by Jeff Utter. And just one of the quotes that I want to bring to our practice today as we navigate challenging change is the simplicity of this. So a quote here, feeling good is enough. It's everything. It's not the side dish. It's the spell, and everything else flows from there. So we often try to make it difficult, but let's come together and feel good. So in this moment, feeling the lungs, feeling the breath in your body, feeling the ground beneath your butt or your feet. You are here and nowhere else. So I invite you right now to feel good. Tap into that inner knowing. And let the next breath, nice, slow, deep inhale. Once again, a softening to those shoulders, softening to the heart as you exhale. Welcome to open your eyes or tune back in here. There you go. Sorry if I got quiet. I'll get more.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So, part 3 of our series on navigating challenging change.
Yeah.
And this does not mean we will not be talking about this in future episodes. This is the
Ongoing life experience.
Ongoing. So today we want to just recap about why it's important to consider the macro changes going on in the world, the rise of insensitivity to fellow human beings, and the numbing of our feelings based on how we interact with each other through social media, the human rights violations that continue to escalate around the planet, the way we treat our Mother Earth, greed, the way we treat each other for something like money or power, and how that affects us when we have the real life struggles of putting food on the table and having affordable homes. Housing's an issue, and how we navigate our health, our relationships, trying to find ourselves in a loving partnership when you're maybe in a toxic relationship. All this stuff all affects us down to our very core.
Navigating this inner world.
Navigating the inner world. Yeah. And then it comes down to that navigation of what you think of yourself and how you maybe betray yourself with a capital S. You betray that capital self. We see it every day in our work. We've experienced in our own lives. And Melissa's going to share a story today with you that speaks to her journey and how it tapped into that knowing. And last time we talked about a story I shared with my knowing, and it was one of a few that have come up for me and that you just know. And I wanted to add, this knowing we talked about, we tend to relate it to negativity sometimes. The movies, like entertainment, uses it a lot that, I just had a knowing. We've had it ourselves. I just knew that bad thing was going to happen. When the hair on the back of your neck stands up, when you walk down a city street at night and you don't know why, but then you just know you're not going to go down that street anymore. And you've seen it in natural disasters where someone will say, I've got to go to that place, not to that place. And then there's a tsunami and they were on the mountaintop instead of at the beach. But you can also harness it for positivity by saying, I'm feeling like that's going to be a lot better for me to go over there to do this thing rather than go over there to do this thing. Not that you're avoiding the negativity, you're actually just drawn to the positivity. And I think that we don't talk about that side of that knowing enough, and focusing on what we want, what we focus on expands. And where is our focus?
Well, I just have to laugh because I think about the title of this book. Isn't it beautiful?
If you're watching, you can see the cover.
Yeah, if you're watching, it's very pretty. It's colorful. It's got all my colors that I like. But reality is optional. I love that. Because think about it. What Scott's just saying is we get to choose our reality. It's pretty powerful stuff. And so that's what we're going to tap into today. Is that energetic frequency that what we think about, what we hang out on in this inner world, we create more of.
Now, some of you out there right now are saying, sure, yeah, right, we create our own reality. You don't know what my reality is right now, and I didn't create this. And I just want you to understand that just be with this for today. Don't try to change anything. Don't resist. The resistance is further creating your current reality.
That's
the resistance.
Deep, yes. Say that again.
The resistance is currently creating your reality. I've lived it. I still live it. I understand it. And yet you're still going to have things happen to you from the outside that are going to trigger you to align what's happening to you to the outside to say, I knew that was going to happen. And that's where you stop and go, am I creating this because I knew it was going to happen? Or am I ready to make a change to say, I created it, even if it's a 5% of 100% problem? Can you own that 5% to say, all right, thank you. I now see I'm going to focus differently to create a different reality.
Yeah, we have so many thoughts here. So many, I was going to say, and on top of that too, there are things that are horrible that have happened to people that you had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
It was not you doing anything. I want to be very clear about that.
Absolutely.
What we're talking about is healing and the way we see the world. And we can let some of these horrible things that have occurred and happened really make the lens we look through pretty dark and bleak. And our practices that we're talking about, the practices that we've shared with you and that we do personally, and we know a lot of you are practicing, this helps to clear that lens so that you tap into that inner knowing, that joy that can be there even amongst the yucky things that have occurred. Many times those yucky things need to process and move through so that we can be in the now, be in this moment. Because some of them I know I'm helping, as you are, many people every day in our sessions and our coaching and everything we do is helping people navigate these rough spots. And like I said in the last episode, is like I wasn't when I referred to Scott's not just saying he wants everything in life to be joyful and peaceful and it's going to be fluffy all the time. No, he's healing from the inside out to be able to handle the waves so that connection to joy is not lost, even amongst the hard times. So I just had to add that in there.
Yeah, and I would add to your...
Okay.
We're going to keep adding to each other's ad. That it isn't our mission to help you navigate challenging change. It's not. That's not our mission. Our mission is to help you to learn to dream to allow yourself to dream. When you can dream, the challenging change doesn't get your focus anymore. It's just a means to an end to get to your dream. And I'm super futuristic focused. And I work with my coach on a lot of things, but I always have to bring myself to the present, because I go, oh, you know what? I want to go this and I want to fix that and I want to go out here. And then I go, okay, so then I got to back down from there to go, what do I need to do today to get there? Mm-hmm. And sometimes the goal doesn't look anything like in 3 years as it did when I started it, because I have to be present to navigate those small pivots, that challenging, not only challenging change, but change in general. Yeah. Oh, that doesn't feel right anymore, or I don't like that color, or I don't like that location, or I don't like that theme. So it's not just about us. Don't get me wrong, we get a lot of joy out of it, but that's not the end game. The end game is giving you tools to help you dream and allow yourself to really dream out there. The rest then kind of takes care of itself, because it's a natural way to navigate challenging change. But we get stuck in the loop sometimes.
Well, like the quote said, the feeling good is it.
That's right.
We're not attaching to this outcome that we just have to endure now so we can get to that point where we'll feel good someday.
That's right.
The subconscious doesn't know someday. It knows right now. And
when I have enough money, enough time,
right,
enough help.
We've got all those phrases, right? I can't afford that, or I can't. And those repeated have frequencies, and that begats more of that. And what we're supporting each of us to do is to spend time in the frequency that takes you up a notch. So like when I was having a moment, getting stressed and worried, I think of it like, okay, I get pulled into some of my old patterns and I'm observing it. I want to have compassion for myself that I'm having some feelings and I'm having kind of like this old kind of upset moment. And then I realize I'm watching that happen. And I realize I have the power to choose differently, not going to shove it down or say dismiss it at all. I just let it have its space. And that has taken work, let me say, has taken work to do. And then I'm able to say, how do I want to feel? How do I want to be? And start to let that part of my brain work. And it starts to create the vision, the dream, the energy that I want to be, the frequency that I want to feel. And I bring it into the now, not saying someday I'll get that, someday I'll be there. But that's kind of the definition there of manifestation, is acting as if it already exists. You want to, there's famous people out there talking about, famous meaning like done a lot of study and research in this area, to say, you know what? The frequency, when you visualize in detail, I always come back to thinking like back in the day when I taught at Western Oregon, I would show this video. It was so dated, but I still kept showing it because it still held true. And I know I probably find other ones, but the current one I refer to is, I think about Michael Phelps, for example, the swimmer. He would talk about how he would visualize over and over again, every stroke, every move, every breath through the water, gliding through the water. And then when he showed up, it happened. The dated video I showed was a gymnast doing the same thing on the mat. When they do those flips, I'm always in awe. And the physical feats that people can do is incredible. But it started here. It didn't start by them. The power of the mind started it, and then it showed up. So that's what we want to bring up today, is it's that dream, it's that frequency, creating more of what you want in your thoughts. Because we do get mired down in the other stuff, the trying to make ends meet, I had another client need to cancel, and the stress comes up like, okay, this is, my world.
Security.
And security gets, and one of my strongest values is feeling secure, and that gets rocked. Mm-hmm. I know people have their different circumstances and situations, and same do I. So when that occurs for me as a business owner, I have to feel some of that fear that comes up. And then I come to my practices to say, trust. There's that faith and hope we talked about last time, is navigating that is an old pattern of fear. That's a pattern that I have we all do, for protection for ourselves. And that's what this work that we're sharing with you has provided for me personally, and it continues to do so, and it's a continual work in progress, is to be able to navigate when those changes happen, to turn to my practices and remind myself of that inner knowing. And as that quote said, to feeling good, it's ultimately, and I posted this the other day, a quote that just said, it's going to be okay. And when we can hang out more in that frequency, that dream, that vision, it helps the flow of whatever that difficult change is at that moment, that difficult moment.
I'd like to clarify a couple of things.
Yeah.
You talk about it begins in our mind, and I'm not sure that it does. I used to think that, and I know what you mean when you say it. And so let me explain to our listeners. It starts with a knowing, and then the mind tries to decide what to do with that knowing. Would you agree?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I think we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Because when I say mind, it's that dream. It's that inner, like, this is what I want. This is what feels right for me. That comes from that place of knowing.
Yes.
And that's where it begins in the mind. So Michael Phelps, he wants to be the best swimmer possible. It begins in his energy and his dream and his knowing that he can do things that humans have not been able to do.
And some fish.
Exactly. That's the knowing that goes beyond most of our understandings, right?
I think what happens, the reason I bring this up is what happens. Boy, I've been and still am stuck in this loop sometimes. Humans use their brains so much. Mm-hmm. And so when you say, you need to use that part of your brain, that's not where we solve things.
Yeah.
We solve things from the knowing place and what it feels, right? Don't go down that alley, right? And then the brain goes, you need to walk the other way. So the brain is a mean-making machine, right? The brain just follows what your energies, it doesn't follow your energies because sometimes we have the ability to make choice to say, I'm going to go down the alley. So I want to be clear with our folks that the gut is the second brain, which now they're saying the gut is the first brain. So when she says activate that part of your brain or the mind, it's all of these things working in tandem. Mm-hmm. But where it begins in my mind, see how easy it is?
See, mind and brain are different for some
yes,
too.
I agree.
Brain, we're talking
that's
about
my point.
The physical brain, right?
That's my point.
What parts are activated and working. Like we all know, we get all into the overthinking and the analytical and numbers. And when, we're bringing the whole being together.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have to feel more so that we can think more clearly to manifest or outpicture our experiences, right? It's a funny story, but I used to have a trunk club membership. I don't know if I've told you this story.
That?
It's a clothing subscription for men.
Okay.
And so I had a stylist,
Oh, cool.
And I worked with her and it was cool. But I told her what my style was, right? I'm a super Northwest guy, right? Jeans, shirts, button-up shirts are fine, but nothing overly formal. And one box she sent me had deck shoes, a kind of a cardigan sweater thing. And and what was the other thing? It was all terrible. It was terrible. And I put it on. I looked in the mirror. I'm like, this is not what I manifest. This is not what I outpicture.
It's not my visual.
And my buddies would beat my ass if they saw. All I need was a little captain's hat, right? And it wasn't me. It wasn't me at all. And it didn't feel like me wearing these clothes. Yet, we are continually wearing experiences that don't feel comfortable. They might even feel icky.
Painful. And
we're saying, this is me. And I'm not doing that, right?
We get to shed that.
And I think that you shed it by the knowing, by that gut. And those of you who aren't watching, I'm pointing to my gut because it starts here and rises through your chakras to the knowledgeable crown chakra. And that's how we get and then we have our choice. Then it goes to choice. Your gut says, do that. Yes, that's great. Yes, take that job. And you go, I don't know. I really don't know if I want to work across town. And you don't take it. And you realize later, oh man, that would have been my dream job. So those opportunities will come again, but we need to understand that it doesn't start in your physical brain. It starts from your knowing, informing you on how to make a decision that's in alignment with what you are desiring.
Oh, that was deep. Yeah. Because then I wanted to add that, whatever choice you make is the right choice, even if in hindsight you think it was. So just make a choice.
Can you talk about that in your experience? I know you talked about a time in your life where you were really down and stressed, and you had a moment that it was defining.
A couple times.
Well, pick one.
These are life experiences, right? It's what makes us the journey. I wouldn't. It's like those reflections that you have further down the road where you're like, yeah, I see the growth that happened. I see why, the benefits of why,
Yeah, it's that. What I'm always saying is you don't learn from the experience, you learn from reflecting on that experience, and it gets more rich for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, to the degree you bring that healing. And part of the healing is, when your body has healed from it. And that's something
that's a whole other podcast.
Yes, it is.
That's awesome though.
Yeah, because I remember having that feeling and that sensation that I'd been doing the work that when my body didn't react a certain way, that I know I was getting some healing under my belt. So the story he's referring to is, and I referred in both last couple of podcasts, was having a dear person say, you'll know when you know. And many of us have heard that phrase, and we've said this too before, is that situations when change is difficult for us all, in particular any life change, we often it has to get painful enough to nudge us into action. And it is so funny because those words that person told me, that you'll know when you know, it just started to slowly kind of creep in. And I was like, I've shared that with so many other people going through stuff, because it empowers you to realize that your body and your knowing will come through when you need it. And it's aligning you for the next step and trusting that. So I was in a difficult situation, and all the thoughts, as I told you a moment ago, that one of my strongest values is security and feeling that. And so when you have children and all that kind of stuff, you kind of put yourself aside and think, what's best? How can I make sure they're secure and all that kind of stuff? So the stress just continued to escalate. And I remember finally getting to that point of feeling like, yeah, it's scary to know what's on the other side, but somehow the courage, the light, the strength, the faith, the hope got strong enough that said, you can do this. And I seriously remember I was sharing that I knew that it was happening when I drove down a particular road, and I would see this little house, and it just felt like a little beacon. And it gave me a little dream that I could start a new life, that I could provide for my kids. I could do this. And every time I drove down that street, I would just hang out with it. It would give me a little breather.
Did you feel it in your body?
Big time. I still love driving down that street because it gives me a sense of calm, and I will actually maneuver my route to go down that street to come back out south. And I still will look at that house, and I will remember it as a little anchor of light, anchor of hope. Because it wasn't that I necessarily was going to move in there, but it gave me that open door. It was that little light shining in to the seed that said, this is possible for you. You can do this. You can get through anything. You don't have to worry. It'll all be okay.
It's like a signpost on your journey.
And so I just kept leaning into that. And I think that was the natural step that was leading me to the next step, to start to feel that courage and that empowerment that a lot of us are seeking to make that hard change or to face that change, because it's easy to stay in what we know. I mean, we hear that from people like returning to abusive relationships because that's what they know. It's familiar. It's comforting it's crazy, right? People on the outside think that's nuts. But the body feels a sense of safety there because it's familiar. And so when we stick with that, because all of that the brain's trying to keep you safe. Yeah. So it says, well, you've got a house, you're safe now, you've got money right now, you can do this. And so even though it's suffering immensely, you're getting these mixed messages. So until you break through to those quiet spaces and tap into that inner knowing to say, I'm going to override the brain here a little bit. The brain that's, it's meant to keep you alive. So it's going to look for evidence to keep you safe. And you are supporting it to get new evidence to say, I can do this and be okay. And so I just remember that being kind of the foundational piece that took me to the next step.
What was the next step after that? What actions came from that, noticing that signpost, that beam of light?
Literally, it just more action begat. So little steps to do research of what I needed to do. Things to start making that direction happen versus just staying huddled in the suffering and continuing to try to survive and rectify what was going on or make it better. I knew that, so I think what that encouragement, that hope that I could do that, I'm just thinking back to the cascading effect that happened after was just more and more actionable steps of leaning into my practice. Like we've talked a few episodes ago and with some of our guests, turning to trusted people to connect with and feel some support, because many of us keep a lot of this private. When we're hurting so much, we put on the face that it's all okay. And so it gave me that courage to say, now I've got people around me and more support.
Yeah, I'm sure many of our audience are relating to their own situation with what you're talking about and wondering where their seed of light is, and I'd ask you to be open now to watching after hearing that story, because it will show itself if you're quiet and you're ready. And as you said, the brain is always trying to override the ego. And boy, that's another great topic that I can't wait to get into one day, is how we listen to our ego and how we engage with our ego, which we won't do today. But I think it's important to know that we're all connected. We all have similar experiences, even though yours are unique to you. And are we able to capture it like you did with the house? And how many times did the universe bring you those things that you didn't see because you couldn't see it?
Well, and I want to encourage, like Scott mentioned, to now just maybe you listening to this today is that awareness.
Right.
That you just heightened the looking, not that it's something outside you. I want to go back to that little piece of sunlight coming in. The seed knew to move toward the light. There's a knowing that's in there that knows how to move towards the light. And when you're ready, the light will shine. You'll find it. And so I want you to trust that, because I want you to think like, oh, what do I got to look for? What do I need to do to fix myself? Why am I so no, get quiet. Feel the sun on your face, lean towards the light.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to do. I know easier said than done, but it is that simple.
Simple's not always easy,
yeah, exactly.
But it is that simple.
That's what's so crazy about it. That's what my little reality is optional dude shares, is that it is that simple, but we try to make it so complex, and we got to trust that, just like we talked about the faith, hope, and whatever you believe, there's something grander, bigger than us, beyond this physical body, like each of us hanging out in here, the mystery.
I have a client who I'm working with again, who I used to work with years ago, high-powered leader, very conservative. We talked about, you said something about woo-woo in the last episode. She's like, it's not woo-woo, but I'm like, yeah, it is. It's woo-woo. Call it whatever you want. I don't care what label you put on things. And in the hiatus of working with him and coming back to him, he worked with another coach who got him doing some things that I had encouraged him to try to do. right? Meditation,
Back
sound.
when he was really thinking,
Yeah. Meditation, sound therapy, earthing, grounding. And I met up with him and we played golf and we were having a conversation. He's like, you're not going to believe it, but I'm doing aromatherapy. I'm doing sound therapy. I'm grounding. And I'm like, well, what's that like? He's like, weird shit has happened. It's all he said. And he just grinned at me. He goes, it's been really amazing. He goes, I'm opening up to things that I never thought possible. Now think about that phrase. I'm opening up to things that I never thought possible. So his time wasn't with me to learn these skills and techniques. It was to go through someone else in another time. And now he's opening up. So trust the process. And that's how we're going to end today. Trust the process. We're all connected. We're all having a human experience in a different way. And yet we all have the same tools to navigate it for our highest and greatest good. And that's why Vital Edge Wellness Coaching is here, is to support you in that journey. Both Melissa and I want to say thank you so much for your support. Please like and share our podcast. If you're getting some value out of this, share it with people. It's our life's work to make sure people can find their highest and greatest good and their deepest level of joy. So thanks again for supporting us. Thank you again for allowing us to share our passions and take care of each other. And don't forget to take care of yourself. We'll see you next time on Rise and Thrive.
Namaste.
Thanks for tuning in to Rise and Thrive, a podcast by Vital Edge Wellness Coaching. If you found this episode meaningful, please rate, review, and share it with someone who might need it. For upcoming retreats and to join the Vital Edge Wellness community, head to vitaledgewellnesscoaching.com. Let's rise and thrive together.